our on-site correspondent, and I was in studio at the network hosting the show. And it's really ironic because I spent my birthday in the studio doing the show, and it was always taped live across America. And after the first appearance, I realized that there was a very good chance that Donald Trump would become president. She was at the convention. The people were going crazy for him then. And it turns out that it was correct. He became the 45th president. And as most people that are sane and literally, shall we say, objective, it was an incredibly successful 4 years. So, in honor of 8 years ago today, uh, I'm attired, well, somewhat similar. Here's a shot from that show, just to give you a look. I had a different crown on because it matched my suit, but that was me on set at U2 America Studios doing the America Trend show. Now, today, my my daughter and her boyfriend came up with a rather unique, shall we say, honorific birthday cake, which I'd like to share with everybody. If you look closely, um, in respect and honor of my admiration for a great American hero, uh, Donald J. Trump, they created this for me in the birthday cake that I got today. And I don't think I'm ever taking that sign down. Uh,
It
it's iconic. And
really is.
today, Will, I think the whole show is going to be devoted to what happened over the past week and what implications it's going to have. We watched American history. And quite frankly, what could have been one of the worst tragedies in American history was still a tragedy. A wonderful American hero was killed protecting his family, and two others were wounded, plus the president, 45, uh, came within a whisker of not being with us. And
Yep.
but for that, this would have been a horrible, horrible week. I wish you
Yeah.
were here, brother, to share my cake with me because it looks delicious. I've been saving it for later in the day because if I have cake now, I'll fall asleep in an hour.
I hear you. I hear you.
My sugar would
so
crash and that would be the end of it. You know what I
so
mean?
you showed the other picture with your other crown, and that was 8 years ago today.
8 years
So
ago,
what was it? Is that a 32-year-old Barry? Looks like it. Looks like
more,
it. 32,
more or less, more or
more or
less.
less.
We're,
32, give or
we're,
take a few, right?
we're rounding. But I wasn't going to pass up my birthday. And obviously, I had made the commitment to host the show. I was the guest host always there. And there was no way I was going to miss it. But the fact is, I wasn't going to not celebrate. I appreciate the birthday wishes coming in. That's all very nice from everybody. I hope you like the new crown. It's a little bit different, but you know, things change. It's still a birthday crown.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
And
You
like I
know,
said, I wish I would share the cake with you, man.
yeah, we can share it in spirit.
Thank you, sir. I so appreciate it.
It's really good.
So in seriousness, let's talk about what's happened over the past week or so. We witnessed what could have been one of the greatest tragedies in American history. It, but for that, and I'm not kidding, that distance, um, it would have been something totally different. Um, and let's start off with what happened and how close it was to being something much different. If we look at, whoops, sorry, if we look at the map from the fairgrounds, the Butler Fairgrounds, you see where Trump was on stage, approximately 410 feet to his direct right, 130 yards away. The gunman was on the roof, astoundingly not bothered by anybody, except briefly, they think, one police officer. And he managed to get off a large number of shots. There's discrepancy on how many. Was it 5? Was it 8? It was at least 4, probably at least 5. I've watched the video 100 times, counting, and you can hear it. Let's talk about what many are calling the hand of God. And here's what I mean. Yeah. I saw a show the other night, and they brought a guest on who was the fellow that created the graphics for the large jumbo screen to Trump's right. And he in particular is an expert on the border crisis, you know, millions and millions and millions of illegals being let in by the Biden administration, contrary to Mayorkas lying to Congress repeatedly how secure the border is. And we all know that's BS. And according to the script that was preloaded in the teleprompter, Will, President Trump was supposed to discuss the border crisis about 5 to 6 minutes later in the speech. And for some reason, nobody has disclosed why, Trump ad-libbed on stage. In other words, out of order, ignoring the teleprompter, he started talking about the border. And the guy backstage running the jumbo screen on his computer thought to himself, oh my gosh, I've got to get the graphic up on the screen. It wasn't supposed to be on the screen for another 5 minutes because they have both the person on the stage and the person running the computer have the same script, right?
Right.
So the guy hurries up, puts the graphic up there, and Trump turns his head to look at the screen to see if it's the right graphic. And at the millisecond, he turned his head to the right. The gunman fired. And they've shown graphically, and I didn't want to show the superimposed line of the bullet that would have, instead of grazing his ear, would have gone into his ear. And the life of Donald J. Trump would have ended on that stage in front of tens of millions of Americans watching from around the country. So going off script, going out of order, turning his head at the exact instant the bullet was fired, saved his life. Person after person after person has said there was divine intervention that saved the life of the 45th president and quite probably the 47th president of the United States. That shot, I've talked to experts, including someone in my family that's an Army sniper, who said that's a no-brainer shot from that distance. Literally a no-brainer shot. Everybody in the military with a rifle gets trained at that distance and can't miss, especially with that kind of long rifle. Was it luck or was it an angel?
I would go and say it was an angel. You know what, Barry? I'm so glad that, can I say it? The deep state. Is it okay for me to say that? After I say it right.
Okay, we got banned again. Thank you very much.
But after their failure, I've actually woke up a couple of nights thinking about all of this. I mean, just wide awake. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Because it could have been a completely different outcome.
Oh, yeah.
We could be waking up right now without President Trump being at this event. And, you know, I've in the past, I watched sci-fi movies and stuff like that. And, you know, in a different reality, a different dimension, you understand what I'm saying? That these evil people were successful, but in ours, And I thank God they were not successful. And I was mentioning this to you before we went live, that when President Trump walked into the RNC, it was like a king walking in.
Right.
Right? It's like a king walking in. And I'm glad you put that image back up there, because I want to bring something else to your attention too. Now you see the gunman in the square over there to the left on the image. This is approximately 410 feet away.
Right. 130 yards is what the measurement is.
Yeah. So, but there's really something interesting. You see that check mark up there with those vehicles in that parking lot? The story is that's the side that he went up on the roof, where the Secret Service, because they made this building their headquarters. Did you know that?
Yes.
This building was their headquarters.
But they were inside.
Yeah, they were inside. So Barry, have you ever been into these buildings with these tin roofs like this?
Oh, somebody walks on the roof, it's like elephants.
When it's raining, you hear the drops of rain hitting that roof. So you can't tell me, so he's walking on there. It's like elephants walking up there. They're inside, and they've all been directed not to go on top, but they're just going to stay inside. Does it not set off any alarm bells for any of them? Like, who's on the roof? None of us have been instructed to go on the roof. So the question should be, who's on the roof? A police officer sees him on the roof. He points the gun at the police officer. The officer apparently falls down. With the reporting, the officer gets hurt because he fell down because of the gunman. And this is before President Trump even set foot on the stage.
All true. And I might add to your narration that every 2 to 3 hours, Will, remember, there were tens of thousands of people there. Tens of thousands. It was like a ball game.
Yes.
And everybody is hanging out, videotaping everything. And everybody's checking their video on their cameras, right? There's a half a dozen people that show this guy walking around with a rangefinder. Now, a rangefinder is used by snipers to determine distance to the foot. Actually, it's within a tenth of a foot. Why would somebody have a rangefinder in the field under that building, range finding to the stage? Will, but to calibrate the distance for a shot. And then he climbs up on the roof.
Yeah.
And everybody is calling out and screaming. Guy on the roof with a gun and pointing on video. I don't mean one or two. There's a dozen of these videos. And with all that evidence and all those witnesses, and like you said, the Secret Service in the building under the roof that was really loud, the idea that President Trump lived is impossible. And yet
it really is.
But it happened.
Yeah. It really is. And you know something else, Barry? Looking at this image, there's another building to the right. No one's even talking about that building. That was Secret Service on top of that building? Because from what we know, Secret Service was only on the buildings behind President Trump. What about that other building? Because that other building, it had line of sight as well. And they also talk about the water tower. They said no, Secret Service wasn't even on the water tower that had line of sight.
Everybody is saying the same thing, and I mean the same thing. We want the after action report from the Secret Service to be released. We want to know who scoped the sites on behalf of the Secret Service, who assigned whom to which spot to secure it. Every single ex-Secret Service agent that's been on the air has said this is the most catastrophic failure in Secret Service history. In history.
Yeah. And then you have Kimberly Cheeto.
Oh, we're going to talk about her.
Okay, yeah. Then we have Kimberly Cheeto. But Barry,
she's going to be talked about.
Let me bring something else before we move on too. And I was talking to my producer earlier about this, and she made a really good point that before we had this right here, this mobile device with cameras on it. Before this, the media, they would have controlled the narrative. They would have controlled what people believed, the information that people received. But because of this and people out there recording, the government state media, they're fighting everybody else that's recording this. And they're fighting with social media because the government state media, they're still trying to put out a different narrative other than what happened, which is so bizarre. I mean, again, don't believe your lying eyes. They're putting out a completely different narrative, but because everyone has a camera on their phone, people are recording, they can lie all they want and people are seeing the truth. That's part of the reason why they want to shut down platforms like X, because you can put those videos on X and millions of people will see it. You
Like
can't put
that.
them
Like
yeah,
that.
like that. You can't in some platforms which I will not name, you put it on there, they'll remove the videos because they don't want people to see it, because I believe that the government state media is working with some of these platforms to make sure that they cannot push out certain information. One, I will name here, YouTube actually has, from the last time I looked, they actually have a policy that you cannot break news on their platform. It has to come from an organization like CNN or MSDNC. They can break news, but you, being a citizen journalist, you cannot break news on there. They have to be the ones to break it.
That is news to me, Will. I was not aware of this.
Yeah, this was a couple years ago. I heard about this, and it just made me think about it now.
Well, let's talk about one of the big subjects that we don't know the answers to yet, and I'm very interested in what will come out. What caused a 20-year-old kid to take a rifle, several hundred rounds of ammunition, load up his car, build several improvised explosive devices, transport them to the shooting site, be parked outside on the street, and plot to kill the past and probably future president of the United States? Many people, and rightfully so, are blaming Joe Biden. Let me read you what Joe Biden said. Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are a threat to the very soul of this country. These are all Biden quotes, by the way. Donald Trump is the greatest threat to our democracy. Donald Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. Referring to Donald Trump, he's a threat to our freedom. He's a threat to our democracy. He literally is a threat to everything American stands for. I'm not done. Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy, and we cannot let him win. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, talking to folks about what's at stake in this election. Tune in. He goes on. These are all different days. Trump poses many threats to our country. The right to choose, civil rights, voting rights, America's standing in the world. But the greatest threat he poses is to our democracy. If we lose that, we lose everything. And then a week before the shooting, he said this: I have one job, and that's to beat Donald Trump. I'm absolutely certain I'm the best person to be able to do this. So we're done talking about the debate. It's time to put Trump in a bullseye.
Yep.
Now, if you're a little bit of an unbalanced 20-year-old kid who kind of socially maladjusted and you got bullied, but for some reason you believe you're president, And he says, put Donald Trump in a bullseye because he says Donald Trump is the greatest living threat to our country. It almost seems like it's a patriotic thing to do, Will, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really. They've been planting these seeds into the simple, impressionable minds for many years now. Many years. And you know what, Barry? I refuse to believe that this 20-year-old did not have assistance. There's no way. There's rumor that he bought a ladder at Home Depot to use a ladder to go up to the roof. There's rumor that he actually went through the security checkpoint because they have it all locked down everywhere. You can't get anywhere close. They said he actually went through the metal detectors. The reason why they found out about the rangefinder, because he went through and they were questioning it. They said keep an eye on him, right? But they have put, and so then it's like I know I'm getting off a little bit here, but to go back to it, they have been saying this about President Trump for years now. And then when President Trump, which we all understood, when President Trump said he'll be a dictator for a day, meaning that he'll lock down the border, he's going to secure and make sure that American families are safe. He's gonna change the gas prices. He's gonna help bring the gas prices down. He's gonna help with the food prices. He's gonna get us out of World War III. That's what he meant, and they knew exactly what he meant. Let me
add to that. On Biden's first day in office, he did what a lot of presidents do: sign executive order after executive order after. I mean, on the first day,
exactly,
he opened the border. On the first day, he released money to Iran. I mean, it was unbelievable. On the first day, he canceled the pipeline from Canada. It all happened in 15 minutes.
Yes.
That is the dictatorial power of the executive branch. And Biden went crazy with executive orders.
Yeah, but they do all of this stuff that a normal dictator would do, or a crazy dictator. Then they point the finger and say President Trump is going to be a dictator. That's what they do with everything. And again,
let me add to your thought. The most ferocious dictator in world history, usually considered, is Adolf Hitler. Let me show you what the Washington Post said.
Wow.
Yes, in our opinion, it's okay to compare Trump to Hitler. Don't let me stop you. That's the Washington Post editorial.
And this was published December 20th of 2023.
Right. So let me ask you a question. And this relates to your family. Your father was a service member. God bless him for his service. He was stationed in Germany. If you were in Germany and you were a German in the 30s and you knew what Hitler was about, your duty would have been to kill him to save your country.
Yes.
And look at this opinion published in one of the most prestigious papers in the world, saying Donald Trump is Adolf Hitler. So
Barry,
don't you have a duty to save your country?
Barry, you know what? Absolutely. I used to make that analogy saying that because the left are constantly comparing President Trump to Hitler, and there's no comparison. But they would constantly say this. And I said, if you had a time machine, because I used to talk about this when I was a kid. If we had a time machine, we'd go back and take out Hitler. Everyone has said that. If you got a Hitler figure, what do you want to do? Take him out. And all of the despicable videos, Barry, of them coming out afterwards saying, oh my goodness, the shooter, you had one job. And there is so sick. It is so sick. All these videos with these people coming out upset because the shooter was not successful. And actually, he was on target. But like you mentioned earlier, just because President Trump, and we've all seen the videos, we've seen all the diagrams on it, because President Trump turned his head. He just turned his head at that one, that at the right time, God intervention saved his life. If I can, Barry, let me bring this up too. This is okay. So now they're doing an investigation about what took place Saturday. The same people doing an investigation are the same people that did the Russian dossier.
Oh gosh.
The same people that's doing this investigation are the same people that's been trying to lock him up, put him in jail. The same people doing the investigation, Barry, are the same people that raided Mar-a-Lago doing this document case against him. The same people now investigating this. The
Yeah,
same people,
it's a three-letter agency, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, the same people that's investigating this, my personal opinion, are the same people behind what took place Saturday. The same people, but now they're doing investigation. Now, this is just my opinion. I'm making sure I'm being clear about this, right? A cover-up is happening. And the reason why the cover-up is happening, I think, is because of the young lady that we're going to talk about when we get to it here.
10 more minutes. You know, the reaction has been insane from some people after what happened. Like I said, and you'll agree, as any American would, it could have been one of the greatest tragedies in our history.
Mm-hmm.
But for an angel that caused him to speak out of turn and screw up the teleprompter and go out of sequence on his speech, and then to look to see if the graphics were keeping up with him. And yet you have reactions like this. Out come the anti-Semites. Stu Peters, who hates Israel and hates Jews, decides that Trump survives an assassination attempt. Early suspects include the Mossad, the secret, basically the CIA of Israel. One of the stupidest things I've ever read in history. That's just what Stu Peters said. Donald Trump is the most popular president in Israel's history.
Barry, yeah, exactly.
They pray in synagogues for the return of Donald Trump. He is the greatest president in the history of Israel and American relations, right?
You know, he's not the first one I've seen say something this stupid. There's been other people saying that, and I bring it to their attention. Did you know that Israel have locations named after President Trump?
Yeah,
this doesn't make any sense. Why would they do this? Now, again, there might be some.
They hate Jews and they hate Israel, and so everything is Israel's fault, or Jews, or both.
Well, I was going to say, if anyone, it might be a liberal Jew, right? If anyone that hates Trump and Israel, they're liberal, 100%.
Well, Stu Peters is not. He's a right-wing, white supremacist hate monger. He's one of the crazy boys on the way right. I mean, the way right. So those people, just like the way left, hate Jews and hate Israel. Bingo. He releases this right after the assassination attempt. The Jews did it.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Stu Peters didn't used to be like this.
No, and either did Candace Owens, and look where she ended up.
Yeah, I'm like, what is the deal? What am I missing here?
Something in the water, bro. I don't know what it is. It's not just a Stu Peters, it's major media organizations. Look at the headline from Sky News. Blaming Trump. Literally blaming Trump for his own potential assassination. Tell me why the media would do this. Well,
nothing justifies an assassination bid, but did Trump play a part in changing the rules of the engagement? What is this supposed to mean? What do you think this is supposed to mean? Because, I mean, isn't Sky News?
I think that the rumor is that a producer at Sky News literally hates Trump and is blaming the assassination attempt on Trump. In other words, Trump played a part in changing the rules of engagement, meaning violence is okay. And so the violence blew back on Trump is what they're saying.
But President, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Let me say this. because right after it happened, a lot of them on the government state media, they rushed out there and tried to say, I've seen some of them try to say that he brought this onto himself because of his rhetoric. And
That's what
you know,
that. Wait a minute, stop. That's exactly what Sky News is saying.
yeah,
They're
and
blaming the victim for causing his own almost assassination. That's what's happening here.
you know, that's exactly it. And you know what? He's and they also try to make the connection of J6. They tried to say because of what President Trump was saying on J6 is the reason why this happened. But they always leave out the key details that President Trump said, be peaceful, be patriotic.
Yeah,
He
but you're
never
ruining the
called anyone to
story.
do anything else other
You're
than that.
ruining the story with that. That
Say it again.
blows up their narrative.
Yeah, but that's the. I mean, it's so crazy, right? Because he didn't say anything other than being peaceful. But when the left hears President Trump, oh, he can't mean that actually. He can't actually mean that you need to be peaceful. He's actually saying something else. And the left, they're good. They're quick to try to change the narrative, just like they're trying to do it here, trying to say he's the one that brought this on. And they come to find out, supposedly, which I think the CIA may have something to do with it, create a profile on this dude that's 20 years old and just say, well, let's go ahead and mark him down as a Republican too. And let's forget the fact that he donated to Act Blue, but let's not bring that up, right? They're trying to say that he brought this onto himself. And you know what it made me think about too, Barry? I remember when I was living in California, I went out on the street of California one time, waving the American flag. And sometimes people would go by, give me the thumbs up and honking the horn at me. And sometimes they would go by telling me I'm number one. I actually had someone told me that I was inciting violence, Barry, because I was standing on the corner holding the American flag, waving it.
Seriously?
Yes. So it's the same thing here. President Trump said, be peaceful, march patriotically. To them, he's inciting violence. But then when they actually incite violence on the left, the summer of love, et cetera, that's them just exercising their free speech. It's twisted.
Well, Sky News changed their headline after tremendous blowback around the world. It's an international news organization.
Right.
For example, Winston Marshall, a musician, posted on X that Sky News is, quote, the winner for the most disgraceful, disgusting mainstream media headline in the wake of the assassination attempt, straight to blame the victim. So Sky News takes down the headline, but it's still there on everybody's phone so they can see it. This kind of stuff is so irresponsible and so filled with hate. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It really is. But they don't actually acknowledge how hateful they are. They believe they're justified in doing it because like you showed the image earlier, they've justified it in their heads for them being hateful, saying this rhetoric because Trump is like a Hitler figure. So that it's okay for us to be this way towards him. This is their mindset now. That's their mindset.
That's a perfect segue to the following story. There's a Democratic congressman named Benny Thompson, and one of his key aides in his office posted this, don't miss next time. A congressman's office posted this. It was a post by his former field director, Jacqueline Marchand. And this is the whole post. Quote, I don't condone violence, but please get you some shooting lessons so you don't miss next time. Oops, that wasn't me talking. Now, this guy, just so you don't feel sorry for him that for some reason he had nothing to do with it, this is the same congressman that was chair of the disbanded J6 committee in Congress. And then he introduced legislation to cancel Secret Service protection for anybody running for president that was convicted of a felony. Now, who is that, Will? Who is he targeting with that law that fortunately didn't pass? Obviously, Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So one of his staff members, right, jumped on the bandwagon. I want you to see who we're talking about. This is the congressman. This guy is so filled with hate for Trump
Yeah.
that his chief staff member posted something thinking, wow, I'm right in line with my boss. Go assassin, but next time take shooting lessons first. Is that insane? The law he was pushing through would have had Trump with no protection.
Yeah. And you know who else was backing him up with that? Jasmine Crockett. She's another one that suffers severely from TDS.
Another congresswoman.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
And really quick, if I can, Barry, they were trying to do this before because they had this anticipation that President Trump was going to go to jail. And President Trump went to jail and he doesn't have Secret Service with him. Guess what would happen?
Oh, God forbid.
So again, this to me stinks to high heaven that they're all involved on what took place Saturday. This is just my personal opinion. I'm gonna make sure I'm clear about this. This is my personal opinion, because what are the odds of them saying, well, he's a convicted felon. We need to remove all of his Secret Service detail from him, and that failed. What does that leave them to do?
Well, you tell me.
Saturday. Because it said we're not going to get him into jail without Secret Service. I mean,
so let's
just pretend we're watching a movie. Let's just pretend we're watching a movie really quick, right? We're gonna write a script right now, right? Just a little short one, really quick, a short film here. We can't put him in jail. And before they try to put him in jail, we'll go ahead and say, okay, you know what? If he's found guilty and he's convicted as a felon and they send him to jail, let's go ahead and make a bill that if you're a convicted felon, you can no longer have Secret Service detail. That means he will be wide open. He'll be vulnerable.
Yeah,
he won't have any extra protection.
You mean like Epstein?
Exactly. So anything can happen. You know what? He did it to himself. We don't know. Or there was a conflict. We're sorry to inform you, everybody, because they knew that even if they put him in jail, that we would still be able to vote for him. They knew this. Even if they convict him as a felon, they knew that we would still be able to vote for him. So they were trying then to remove the security service details. So when they put him in jail, that he would be wide open to whatever they wanted to do to him. And then they just come back and say XYZ. And then to add to it, 2 weeks before Saturday, come to find out that Iran put a hit on President Trump. They did not increase his security detail then. Got to write, we're writing the script out, right? We're pretending we're making a movie here. We'll just pretend none of this is actually happening. So since we have the Iranian going to say, okay, well, maybe we can use that to our advantage to take him out. Right. And then if that happens, we can just blame it on the Iranians, which will be another benefit for us to go ahead and go into full-fledged World War III with Russia and Iran, et cetera, because then we'll get the Republicans to join us in this battle against Putin. We can make the ties. We'll show some money going around, and we'll say that Russia, Putin with Iran did this to President Trump. Are you with us, MAGA Republicans? This, writing the script here.
You got a hell of a movie script in your head, brother.
I mean, and you can't make it up.
I guess not. Now we got to describe the roof. I've saved it after we've got the background. Will Johnson. The job of the Secret Service is one thing, other than they've got a division that handles counterfeiting. Their job is to protect the protectee and keep the protectee safe. That's their job. That's it.
One job.
They lock down, and I've been with presidents in person 3 times. They lock it down like you can't get in, you can't get out. Once you're in, Everything is sealed. They're in the bathroom. They're at the doors. They're on the roofs. They're in the
Yep.
basement. They're across the street. They're a block
Yep.
away.
Yep.
They've got drones up in the air. They've got helicopters in the air. They've got spotters everywhere, in uniform, not in uniform.
Yep.
Will Johnson, how in the world is it possible that the roof closest to the stage, with a direct line of sight, at a distance that a soldier in basic training is taught to hit that target repeatedly without missing?
Are we writing some more of the script again?
Now I'm asking you about the roof.
Okay,
How
we're gonna
is it
ask some.
possible nobody was on the roof? There's 3 stories now. Story number 1, it was released that the Secret Service delegated that to the state police. The state police said that's not true. Then there's a second story.
And wait a minute. Before you move into the second story, to add to the police story, the
Yes.
police officers, after they got to the rally escorting President Trump there, they were excused, Barry. They left and went to a restaurant.
What? I
Yes,
haven't heard this.
yes. They were excused, said you can leave. You know, we don't need you any longer. You can go. You did a good job. You can leave. Wait until afterwards. You can escort them back, whatever, right? They left and went to a restaurant.
I have not heard this.
Dude, I'm telling you, the script keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Well, let me add to it. So that story is now amended as of yesterday, that the guy that the state police assigned to the roof didn't come to work that day, supposedly, and they didn't have one extra cop to put on that roof. That's story number 2. Now, story number 3. The stupidest thing you have ever heard from a government employee in a prestigious position, and I know you've heard some stupid things. This is the stupidest. And it came from Kimberly Cheadle, who you mentioned a few minutes ago, the director of the Secret Service. She says, let me read it to you. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle knew the building 125 yards from President Trump was a huge vulnerability, but didn't station an agent on the roof because it had a sloped roof. She said, this is the quote, that building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody on a sloped roof. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside the building. Not secure the outside, secure the inside, as if somebody was inside the building doing something. Here is that moron that gave that quote that makes no sense. By the way, her previous job, she worked at Coca-Cola. She's a DEI hire. That's where they got
I was
her.
going to say, you beat me to it.
Let me show you the roof in question, because this is unbelievable. The picture on top, bad slope, really scary. It's a flat roof with a tiny slope.
Yeah.
The slope on the bottom, which is called the good slope roof, is the roof that the snipers for the Secret Service were on, which was a very steep roof. Like the White House, where I've been, and they've got snipers on that roof. They're trained to set up on sloped roofs. Why? Because most roofs are sloped.
Yeah.
Does anybody believe this woman?
Actually, after the outcry and all the images came out, she actually retracted that.
What do you mean retracted? Like, hey, I just made that up. It was total BS.
Yeah, pretty much for the most part, but she retracted it and she's not saying that any longer. And she completely shut up about it. And then I'm pretty sure we're going to get into it about the subpoena now from the GOP.
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
Right.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. So they're chasing after her yesterday at the convention. I don't know if you saw this.
I did.
U.S. senators saw her walking up the stairs and they started running after her. Director Cheadle, we're subpoenaing you to come before the Senate. We want to ask you some questions. Why did you not have anybody on the roof? Where's the action report? How did you not take responsibility? What's the story about the sloped roof?
Are you going to resign?
Talk to you. I'm not going to talk to you. Why don't you resign then?
But you know what, Barry? Before the video that's showing her running up the stairs, they were actually had about a 4-minute conversation with her, and they were asking her questions, drilling her, and she just kept telling them that this is not the place or the time. And I'm thinking to myself, why in the world is she at the RNC with President Trump there? Why is she there? It's almost like she had to go there and see for herself that he actually made it okay.
Well, why? Let me ask you a question, and this is serious. Why isn't she in Butler, Pennsylvania, supervising the investigation? Or why isn't she in Washington preparing a report for the subpoena because they want to know? Instead, she's wasting her time going to Milwaukee.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Barry? Originally, when James Comer sent out the subpoena for her to show up to the GOP come next week, right? Mayorkas, he stepped in. Have you heard this? Mayorkas stepped in and said no. She would not be testifying.
What?
Yes. When it was first came out that Representative James Comer did the subpoena for Kimberly Cheetah to show up to the GOP and testify about what happened Saturday, the negligence of the Secret Service, Alejandro Mayorkas stepped in and said, no, she would not be testifying.
Holy cow.
And this was completely mind-blowing to me. So is no one questioning that? Why is he stepping in? And then a few hours after that, Barry, she comes back and another report comes out saying that even though Mayorkas said this, she's still going to go testify. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. This is what's going to happen at this hearing. They're going to ask her a question, and her response is going to be, I can't comment on an ongoing investigation. Case closed.
Wow.
I'm telling you, that's exactly how it's going to play out. I cannot comment on an ongoing investigation.
Well, let's go in a different direction here. Maybe you can explain this to me. According to the Trump campaign, they've been asking for additional security for quite some time.
Yes.
According to the Trump campaign, it's been repeatedly denied. According to the Robert Kennedy campaign, they've been asking for any Secret Service protection. It's been denied. Supposedly, both campaigns were denied by orders from the White House.
Mayorkas. Yeah. White House, Mayorkas down.
They're on the same level. He's a cabinet officer.
Yep.
Now, this week, it was announced both campaigns will receive robust protection. I don't know what the story is.
You know what, but Barry, at the same time, can you trust this protection?
No, because when they were in charge of the protection on Saturday, the closest observable point from the stage with a direct line of sight from a shot that any idiot with a rifle wouldn't miss was left unprotected. What are they going to change now? Oh, we were just kidding around. Now we're really going to protect the president.
Yeah.
Or we're going to make a speech that we're going to be better, but we're really not going to do anything. Because here's the problem. As we talked about a few minutes ago, there's a lot of crazies out there posting, geez, sorry you missed. Like the moron in that band with Jack Black, I think his name is Glass,
It was like he was a manager of something. It was like his birthday, right?
It was he's his partner on stage, and they were in the middle of a concert, and they sent out a happy birthday wish, and he said, "Oh, I have a wish," and Jack Black said, "What's your wish?" "Well, next time don't miss, ha ha ha." Jack Black canceled the tour on the spot, and the guy's manager fired him on the spot. That is insane call to violence, especially a televised concert. It's not funny because people like this 20-year-old moron in Pennsylvania take that stuff seriously. So my question is, there are a lot of calls out there now. Take shooting lessons first. We've got to save democracy. We're all going to jail as soon as he wins. There's going to be a dictatorship as soon as he wins. Democracy will end as soon as he wins. You know. Oh, I'm sorry. I was quoting for President Biden. Those are all things he said.
Yes. These are things that he's been saying. These are things that the government state media has been saying.
It's true. It's all true. So, interesting development this week. Overnight polling shows Trump electoral numbers are skyrocketing since Saturday. I'm not joking. I've been watching.
Oh, yeah.
They update every day.
Oh, yeah.
They're predicting Trump well over 300 electoral college votes now. It's a landslide if Biden stays in. So
even if he doesn't stay in, Barry, they're done.
Well,
there's no one that they can bring forward that's going to beat Trump now. There's nobody. You notice they're not even going with Kamala Harris. They're not screaming, "Oh yeah, Kamala Harris to the top of the ticket." They're not even saying that. They can't bring Gavin Newsom. Look what Gavin Newsom's getting sued because of what he's doing with the parents and the children. I mean, they're going to bring in Gretchen Whitmer? They're going to the FBI and Gretchen Whitmer together? I mean, come on. They staged so much stuff there. It's ridiculous.
Well, let me show you the interview with BET. I mean, Biden is scrambling, trying to at least shore up the black vote. So he granted an exclusive interview with BET. It's very short. I want you to just check this out. This happened, I think, yesterday or the day before. Sorry, wrong one. Let me give you the right one. Here it is.
It's all about treating people with dignity. And it's about making sure that, look, I mean, for example, look at the heat I'm getting because I named the Secretary of Defense to a black man. I named Ketanji Brown. I mean, because of the people I've named.
First of all, he mumbles something completely you can't understand, a name that nobody knows. And then he can't remember his senior cabinet official, right?
He's number 3.
What's that?
He's number 3. Secretary Austin is number 3 in the chain.
Yeah. Lloyd Austin is the most powerful man in the American military. He controls the defense of the world.
Yes.
And to Joe Biden, he's the black man.
Oh my goodness. I mean,
and he says this to black entertainment television, right? And the look on the face of the interviewer was, "Oh my God, am I really hearing this?"
Yeah, it's crazy.
So at this point, Trump's numbers are going like this. Biden is going like this. And now we get to the end of the show.
Yeah.
And I've got to show you something. And I got to ask, what do you predict? So there's talk about what comes next. Well,
what comes next?
Wait a minute.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. When you look at what Biden said yesterday about his head of Secret Service, that guy, well, just check it out.
Not heard, at least publicly, from the Secret Service director?
Oh, I've heard from him.
But have you heard from her publicly?
Publicly, I've sat down in a situation room downstairs. The Secret Service, the FBI, the national security agencies, the Homeland Security, all the major elements.
So there's Biden lying on CBS, right?
He can't remember.
He's being asked, have you spoken to the director of the Secret Service? Oh, yeah, I've heard from him. The him is
Yeah.
a lady
Yeah.
who he
Unless
has never talked to.
and Lester Holt is trying to help him out by
By
letting
saying
him
her.
know it's her. And Joe Biden is not there, and he doesn't even catch it on. He doesn't even catch on. He just goes on. Oh yeah, I'll talk to all these people. I'll talk to this person, that person, this person. I'll talk to the Secret Service. I'll talk to
He
the
doesn't
FBI.
even know
I'll
who
talk
they
to the
are.
intelligence
knows-
services.
He knows Situation Room, and he knows it's in the basement.
Barry, this is
been
the
there a
same.
while.
This is the same person that have not had a cabinet meeting in over 2 years, to my understanding. He does not have a cabinet meeting. And when the last one they had to put everybody's name down on the card so he'll know their name. What's your name again? Okay.
And wait a minute, since you're mentioning it, he had questions, who to ask. They had questions, they had answers to give back to him, and then he was given written answers to them. The entire cabinet meeting, which is supposed to be the planning of the policies of the United States of America, with all the key figures that run all the departments at the executive level of the government of the United States, and he doesn't know who they are.
No.
He doesn't know what to ask them. He can't respond when they respond. Meanwhile, the Secret Service has a video out where they're talking about recruiting trans agents to protect the executive level of the United States, and they don't have enough transsexuals in uniform. And that video is still circulating by the Secret Service recruiters. So here's my question. Obviously, Biden is not in control. Biden's numbers are doing this. And just yesterday, Biden said in the morning, I would leave if I got a disease and I couldn't continue. 2 hours later, they announce Biden has COVID. They pulled him off the event in Vegas. He sort of stumbled up the stairs, the back stairs of Air Force One, because he can't climb the stairs.
Right.
The big stairs in the front, so they take him on the back stairs, which are for the press. And he could barely get up the stairs. And now everybody's calling for him to resign.
And he had a problem getting in the vehicle. Did you see that?
I saw that. He froze. 2 questions. Actually, 3. Number 1, you can answer these in any order. Does he resign before his term expires, making Kamala president, increasing her chances of being reelected as president? Number 2, does he just resign from the ticket now so they have enough time to reorganize the convention next month in Chicago? Or 3, things are so bad, Nancy Pelosi's calling for him to step down. Chuck Schumer's calling for him to step down. Barack Obama supposedly called for him to step down. Plus, something like 30 members of Congress like Adam Schiff and so on. Under all that pressure, is a cabinet meeting called to invoke the 25th Amendment and remove him against his will? What do you think after all of this has happened in the last 2 days?
I think it's probably going to be the latter of the 3. I think it's going to be the last one.
25th Amendment?
Yeah, I think they're going to eventually get to that point because Jill Biden and Hunter Biden is saying stay in it. And I think the only reason why he all of a sudden has the whole Kung flu, I think the only reason why that's coming into place is because they're thinking that, well, it worked in 2020. We'll just retreat to the basement. We're doing the interviews or anything from there, from the basement, and we'll just leave it at that because they want to try to control. We have to keep Joe Biden away from certain people. Well, in the meantime, all of them are kicking and screaming, saying that he's not only going to take down the White House from the Democrats, but he's also going to hurt the chances for the House and the Senate. Barry, both parties in the country have never been in this position. They've never been in this position where they have the potential of losing not just a few seats, but a lot of seats. because a lot of people are sick and tired of what the Democrats have done to the country.
Well, not only that, but they vote the ballot from the top down, and if the top of the ticket is Donald Trump and JD Vance as their choice, they'll just push R all the way down, and the down ballot gets wiped out if you're a Democrat.
But that's my point. That's my point. And now they're terrified of that because Joe Biden is taking them all down. There's never, I'm telling you that the party, I'm pretty sure you're aware of this. The party's never been in this position. This is why they're panicking. And I think that's part of the reason why Saturday happened too. I hate to keep making the connection, but we're writing the script. Okay. We get to write the script the way we want to. It's our script, Barry, right? We get to write it. I believe this is part of the reason. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. You know what? We can see how that would fit into the script. I think that's part of the reason why they're doing this. And let me say this really quick, Barry. This is the same man, like I mentioned earlier, that they did the fake Russian dossier. They did to President Trump. They spied on President Trump. They did 4 indictments against President Trump. They did 91 charges against President Trump. They had him hemmed up in Georgia trying to say that he was doing fraudulent activity. They had him hemmed up in Florida with the documents case. They raided his home, Barry. They tried to remove him from the ballot. They tried to put him in jail. They lied about him, say he's a dictator. They lied about him, say he's a Hitler figure. They lied about him, say that he was a white supremacist supporter. They lied about him, about all these steps along the way. And everything, and I'm only naming a few, after all of these things that they did to President Trump, you and I, the American people, continue to support him. They don't understand it. They can't grasp it. So after doing all of these things to him, there was only one last thing they can attempt to do. Thank God they failed. But again, we're just writing a script here. Come on. None of this is actually happening.
Just a made-up movie.
None of this is actually happening. We're just writing a script here.
Exactly. Well, thanks for coming on my birthday. It was great to share it with you. We will see you next week, and we'll see all of America next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. You know where to find us. We'll be right here. Until then, have a wonderful week.